Well, hello again to everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Charles Naton, your friendly guide helping you to navigate the shadowy swamp that is the modern British state. Today, we're taking a look at the Treasury Committee as it scrutinises the work of the National Infrastructure and Service Transformation Authority. A lot of people might not have heard of that, but with a name like that, it's clearly something very important, something we need, and something we can't possibly live without. Right? NISTA, as it's commonly called, because as we know the quangocracy loves acronyms, was formed on the 1st of April 2025 last year, bringing together the functions of the National Infrastructure Commission and the Infrastructure and Projects Authority. So there's nothing like a new quango begotten by other quangos to really inspire confidence that things are going to go well. Indeed, it's such a labyrinthine mess, or a shadowy swamp as I keep saying, that even the chair of the Treasury Committee has trouble keeping up.
Today we're examining the work of the National Infrastructure and I'm already forgetting the name because it's changed its name, the NISTA, which is the National Infrastructure and Service Transformation Authority, which has been formed from the National Infrastructure Commission and the Infrastructure and Projects Authority.
The person you saw there was the chair of the Treasury Committee, Dame Meg Hillier, MP, having trouble with remembering which organisation is called what and which ones are still current, which should give you some idea of how treacherous the quangocracy can really be. Now, the committee itself is a fairly standard setup of 11 members, 10 plus the chair, and containing 2 Tories, 2 Lib Dems and the rest are Labour, but that's pretty standard for this Parliament. The people being questioned by the committee were Becky Wood, CEO of NISTA, Matthew Vickerstaff, Deputy CEO and Head of Project Finance at NISTA, and Jonathan Sachs, Chief Economist, National Infrastructure and Service Transformation Authority, NISTA. As this is the Treasury Select Committee, they naturally began their questioning asking how the merger between the 2 previous quangos was going, and CEO Becky Wood was only too pleased to talk about the real, tangible progress that they've made.
So we have 4 pillars, as we would term them. We have strategy and systems change pillar of activity. We have work around market and sector engagement, which again is quite central. That partnering both external and cross-government is really central to what we do. We have a delivery and portfolio pillar, which encompasses lots of that assurance and advisory work I've mentioned. And we have our project finance expertise.
Now, as a taxpayer, I for one can say I'm greatly reassured to know that all these highly paid, superannuated and super-insulated quangocrats have brought all their expertise to bear on creating some abstract PowerPoint ideas for some sort of conference or whatever it is they're doing up there. But don't worry, that's not all they've done. They have produced also a 10-year plan. So that's reassuring as well, because we all know that once the quangocracy produces a plan, everything runs smoothly. It's what we've all been waiting for. If anyone's having trouble sleeping in the current UK heatwave, there's a link down below to the 10-year UK infrastructure pipeline plan. That will help you drop off very quickly with the serene knowledge that now the quangocracy has produced a document, everything's going to be fine. There will be no more billions spaffed away on, well, who knows what, frankly, and everything will run smoothly from now on. Indeed, John Glenn, MP, summed up the current situation quite succinctly.
My sort of final question in this section is around insulation from governments changing. I mean, one of the things is a 10-year strategy. We obviously respect some infrastructure projects take longer than one cycle of Parliament. In my area, I've got UK Health Security Agency, which has gone from a Health Protection Agency to Public Health England to UK Health Security Agency. I think several hundred million has been spent and nothing's actually happened in Harlow yet. And then similarly, 10 years ago, we had the Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister come down in 2014 and say we're going to build a tunnel at Stonehenge. 10 years later, we'd spent 200 million and nothing had happened.
Bearing in mind that all these public-private partnerships have been running rampantly out of control for decades now, Dame Siobhan McDonough finally asked the $64 billion, or I should say pound, question.
I was fascinated fascinated by Mr. Sachs speaking about incentives, and there was a report last week from Britain Remade, the Centre for British Progress, pointing to the 65% cost premium of infrastructure compared to European comparables. Where are the incentives? Who is incentivised? Are you incentivised to actually bring those costs down to more like a European average?
I'm not a cruel man, so I'm not going to torture you with Jonathan Sachs' non-answer, which rattled on for minutes at a time. Needless to say that nowhere in that avalanche of managementese was there any identifiable incentive for major contractors to rein in their costs. So from that, we can safely conclude there are no incentives for these huge contractors to rein in their costs, which would indeed explain a great deal about the current situation we find ourselves in. HS2, I'm looking at you. So by the end of this Treasury Committee meeting, what have we actually learned about NISTA and the work it does? Well, not a great deal to be honest, but we can draw some conclusions about what it doesn't do. It doesn't seem to write checks for paying anybody. They don't build anything themselves. They don't appear to hire or supervise contractors. They don't appear to raise capital themselves or operate infrastructure themselves. So these are all the things they don't do, which leaves me with the impression that NISTA is in fact a collection of puffed up and very self-important management consultants. And judging by this nation's woeful infrastructure track record, they're every bit as useful too. The link to the full meeting's down below if you want to have a look at it, but I can tell you there were no solutions to be found. Just another depressing example of the stifling technocracy which has driven this nation to the brink of disaster. It was just more of the same with a different title. In fact, NISTA kind of reminds me of those dodgy Phoenix companies. You know the ones I mean. The ones that stiff their creditors by deliberately going bankrupt and then relaunching with a new logo. Looking to the future, I wonder if our shiny new Quango will be sticking its fat, overfed fingers into the upcoming project to renovate the Palace of Westminster. Surely a project of national importance if ever there was one. I guess we'll have to wait and see. That's it for today. I hope you found it interesting and it's taught you at least something about the waste and bureaucracy that's going on under our very noses. As always, please like, share, subscribe, do all that cool stuff. Put a comment down below. It really helps to keep the channel growing and it helps to keep these important issues in the public domain. Because always remember, our ignorance is their power. Take care and I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.